I'm Kurt Shimmers. Every day, fortunes are gained and lost in the financial markets. News, trends, and even geopolitical events shape your financial landscape. Join me and my expert guests right now on Traders Nation. Welcome. You are tuned in to Traders Nation. Thanks for making us a part of your day. Don and I have got a jam-packed show today. Raghee Horner's back with us again today. She's a futures and trading expert over there at Simpler Trading. We're going to be talking about oil today. Oil prices have slipped recently, but listen, our traders looking at the long-term oil prospects. We're going to be talking with her about that and a lot more. Don and I also are going to be going over our stock list. We've got data centers are back on our list again today. Not a surprise there, and payment processors. So we're going to bring you some updates with what's going on there. So we got stocks, guests, and a whole lot more. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Traders Nation, if you promise not to tune out, we promise not to talk about you while you're gone. Traders Nation. Traders Nation. Get Pro Online DVD Trader today. Whether you're an experienced trader or just beginning, you'll improve your skills dramatically. Click on the Knowledge Center button to order your copy today. Traders Nation, delivering what you want when you want it. Traders Nation. Traders Nation. Live.
It's on the whole time.
Bringing traders coverage of the markets, solid trading strategies, potential hot stock movers, world-class guests, informative callers, and unsurpassed market chatter for traders to take all the way to the bank.
You guys got some great stuff coming out. I mean, the great station.
Stay on top.
This is always changing. It's always fresh. Something new.
Stay tuned in. Traders Nation.
There's always something to look forward to.
Clearly, you can hear the difference. Traders Nation. It's the Traders Nation Network.
Hi, I'm Steve Forbes. You're watching Traders Nation.
Yeah, welcome back. You are tuned in to Traders Nation. So far, so good. Hey, Don, I'm going to switch things up a little bit here today. I want to do payment processors. Let's do towers, okay? Forget about no data centers today, Don. Let's do towers instead.
Okay.
Yeah, how's that sound?
They're all good sectors, all good.
They totally are. Payment processors. Hey, Don, what's going on here? We got Square on the top of our list here today. Square and Corp currently trading at $73.75. It found some resistance right at that $79.35 area. Hey, let's bring the charts up for folks out there watching, okay? Look at that. Look at the resistance on that. Hit it twice and then just couldn't get through it, okay? Rolled over, and now it's finding support right there. It's 50-day and 200-day moving average. Don, your thoughts?
Well, Square is moving up handsomely here. Now, this stock got hit a little bit earlier, 4 or 5 months ago. But if you take a look at this, Square is back up here at around $74. 52-week high is $101. But an analyst put a $94 price tag on this stock the other day. Yeah. And also, they're making it very, very easy to sign up with Square. They're calling it the Netflix of the payer business.
Really?
But keep an eye on Square. Technology, we've been talking about it since we introduced the stock.
Yeah.
Technology.
Okay, yeah, without a doubt. And Square, one of the newer technology payment processors that are out there. Next in line with the newness, if you will, is going to be PayPal. And that's currently trading at $103.12 right now, Don. 1.4 million shares exchanging hands so far here today. It's resting right here after all those steady gains that PayPal has seen. I'd like to see it to go sideways for a little while, Don. Let's digest those gains the stock has seen and has had, and maybe from there it can make its way north again. Don, your thoughts?
Well, same thing with PayPal. A lot of technology. Stocks moved back up $103 today and a quarter, and 52-week high of 104.60.
Yeah.
Look, these payment processing companies are on fire. And don't forget, last week we talked about the big merger taking place. FIS Systems is acquiring World Play. So that's a huge deal. And I am of the corner here that you're going to see some more consolidation go on in this payer processor business. So keep an eye on we mentioned Square, keep an eye on PayPal, and then of course we're going to talk about Visa and Mastercard.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me touch real bit quickly on the acquisition areas, Don. I mean, these newer companies they're smaller, they're nimble, their RD&E is much quicker. They have the technology that maybe some of these bigger companies want. So maybe these bigger companies are going to sit on the sideline. Let's get some growth into these smaller tech companies, the newer ones. They have that technology, and when the time's right, they may come in and do some acquisition. All right, and everybody wins on those. Okay, Visa. Let's move on to that one. $153.93 down here today. Same thing as PayPal, resting right here and digesting those gains. If you look at the charts out here on Visa, V is the ticker symbol for that one. Don?
Well, you can't deny that these stocks are holding up strong. You know, we get the volatility in the market. Some days these stocks can be off a buck or two, or three or more. Yeah. But you cannot deny taking a look at the charts on these companies and how they are all kind of bouncing back towards their 52-week highs. And in a sector of the market that's growing very, very rapidly, and it is all about the technology. The technology is changing very rapidly in the payer business.
It totally is. And the reason why the technology, and these bigger companies, there's legacy companies like Visa and Mastercard, they look at this technology because they know the cash is gone. Payment processing is digital, man. And with digital comes technology, and it's all wrapped together. So this is what these companies are doing, Don, and this is where their focus is at. Not just today, but their focus is for tomorrow. And that digital payment processing is where it's going to be, Don. Visa, once again, 153.93, where it's currently trading at right now. 2.4 million shares exchanging hands here today. Don, let's move on to the other legacy payment processing company. Certainly, I'm talking about Mastercard. MA is the ticker symbol here. $233.06, Don, on this one. So we're also looking at this one. This one's trading right above its 21-day moving average. Same thing with here. With Mastercard, okay? Support's at $225, okay? Looking at the charts, let's bring those up, if you will. Same thing as PayPal and Visa, resting and digesting those gains. So, Don, we've seen a lot of, and this is a technical side, so we've seen a lot of gains on these stocks. You're right, they've come up and hit their 52-week highs, Don. And they've had nothing but gains, resting gains, and now we're a little bit of profit taking going on, and that's what we're seeing in these, Don.
Well, same thing. Look, Mastercard is a stock that is near its 52-week high. 237. It's trading at 233. This stock can be off a buck or two in a volatile market. Yeah. But they bounce right back because, look, they pay dividends. Mastercard, obviously, the big gun in the business. Yeah. So all these stocks, Mastercard and Visa, PayPal, Square, and then, of course, we have Stone, the Brazilian company. Yeah. What can we say about that? It's a double since we introduced it.
That's right. Yeah, totally. So let's get some numbers out there for our viewers and listeners. Don, Stone, STNE. What a big win, right? StoneCo, currently trading at $40.81. Don, we brought it to our viewers and listeners' attention at 22 bones. Right?
That is correct.
Up another $10 since we spoke about it last. Again, this continues to make big moves. Gapped up on earnings report just right here recently on 3/18, Don. StoneCo, STNE, Don.
Well, this is a strong Brazilian company. Once again, younger company, loads of technology, and this is one that could be acquired. I don't have any rumors or anything, but a smaller company, great technology. Same kind of a deal as we have with the PAG, the other Brazilian company. Yeah. But great quarter they had, and here it is. Yeah. STNE, introduced at around, what, $22? $22?
Yeah. Don, what a great move. You're exactly right. Right back at $22, this was brought to our viewers and listeners' attention. Hopefully they're paying attention, and they've got it down on their list. And certainly, had they been paying attention and they decided to play, they're benefiting big time, okay? Yeah. And it's paying off for them. Stone, STNE, Sam Tango Nancy Echo is the phonics for StoneCo. Don, let's move on to Towers. American Tower currently on the top of our list. Great company, 193.82 out there in the market. About where we left off at Traders Nation last time, we saw some selling going on here, slightly biased to the downside. So again, I get back to this. There's some selling going on. People are taking some profits off the table, and that's perfectly fine. AMT, Don, your thoughts?
Well, American Tower is a very strong company, and once again, to repeat myself, this is an industry, the tower business, that the barrier of entry is very high, and American Tower is one of the legacy companies. They've been around since the very beginning in this business, and we have a stock trading in here at around $193.
Yeah.
And once again, same thing, not too far off. It's a 52-week high at of around 196. Pays a dividend.
Right.
It's a real estate investment trust.
Right.
And look, 5G's on the horizon.
It sure is. It certainly is. And by the way, also too, if you're into dividends, this one's got a dividend coming up here on April 10th. Okay, about 90 cents, 90 cents a share. So it's also a dividend play too. AMT, American Tower, should be on your watch list. Okay, CCI, Crown Castle International is the next stock on our list here today. Currently trading at $126.37. About 500,000 shares exchanged in hands so far here today. Holding up well, Don, at these levels, considering some of the selling we've seen in some of these other stocks on our list here today. Let's bring the charts up on this. A little bit of sideways action going on here with CCI digesting those gains once again, Don.
Well, Crown Castle, interesting company. Now, this company is diversifying a little bit as well. They're getting into the fiber business. They've made 2 small acquisitions, and voila, they will be one of the largest fiber optic providers across the country. So CCI, domestic company only, no international sales, but this is another one that's pushing up against the 52-week high.
There you have it. CCI put it on your list. Okay, coming up next, Raghee Horner. We're going to be talking about oil prices. You know, they've slipped a little bit, but traders are looking at oil as a long-term prospect, we think. We're going to find out the reason why. Coming up next here on Traders Nation. Stay tuned.
Traders Nation salutes America. Stay strong, stay proud, and stay in the green with us. Traders Nation live, bold, and packed for profit every weekday morning.
Traders Nation, live, bold, and packed for profit. Sign up today for our weekly HTML newsletter and check out the Traders Nation store for products to enhance your stock trading day. Traders Nation, what you want, when you want it. Traders Nation.
Hey, Jeff Carlisa here from 38 Special, and we're rocking it up right here with Traders Nation.
Welcome back. You are tuned in to Traders Nation. My pleasure to have back with us once again Raghee Horner. She's from Futures Trading Expert over there at Simpler Trading. Appreciate having her back with us today. Raghee, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Doing really good. Hey, so listen to me. We're talking about oil prices here today. They have slipped a little bit here, but are traders looking at oil prices as a long-term prospect?
Well, I think in any case when it comes to a trader, if we're looking at a short-term time frame versus a long-term time frame,
right,
if we're looking at a countdown to OPEC versus the reflation trade that's on, I'm a long-term bull in oil at least through the OPEC meeting, and also as long as Jerome Powell has this reflation trade alive and well, it's tough to bet against oil and oil stocks.
Sure. There are a couple things that come into play, and certainly they're geopolitical in a sense, whereas we're seeing a potential production cut with OPEC, and then also, I mean, look at the deteriorating output there in Venezuela. I mean, will this fuel a oil or crude rebound?
I'll tell you what, my friend, I think it already has. I think as we've seen that rally in equities as of January 4, when Powell probably made the quickest 180 in FOMC or Federal Reserve history that I can remember. I mean, that was just flat out whiplash from a hawkish outlook to that accommodation that we now see.
Yeah. With
that reflation trade back on, crude oil already got a good shot in the arm. With equity strength, the same thing has happened. OPEC's in a fight for their life. They know that the U.S. production's really only being hampered by the fact that we don't have the refinery nor the pipeline infrastructure just to keep up with the production that we have. We're going to eclipse Russia consistently, probably within the next 24 to 36 months. So they know that the production in the U.S. is here, it's for real, and we're going to be export-driven. So OPEC's got to do what it can to, number one, keep oil prices low enough to maybe keep those shale producers and reinvestment at a minimum, but high enough that they can pay their bills. Because, you know, you look at what's happening with the Saudis and their budget, they're in some hot water. So they need oil to be above $50, above $60, but not so high that they kick shale production into overdrive.
Sure. You know, that's interesting because their economy certainly is driven by oil. And they're on this fine balance, aren't they, between the amount of the swimming in the money, swimming in the income, and now at a point where the oil's so low, they really need to be careful as far as their economy is concerned, correct?
Oh, for sure. You got that right. Their cost basis for oil is far lower than anybody else's. Shale is a very expensive production. It's very debt-ridden. But, you take a look at a cost basis for the Saudis, they've really got more of a budget problem than they have a cost basis for oil problem. But the independence the U.S. is gaining very quickly in the energy, not just crude, but natural gas is going to continue to be something that hangs over the Saudi, all of OPEC, quite frankly.
Yeah, and natural gas also is a problem for Russia because they're a big gas producer, and we're coming with that. How's Russia's reaction to that, the amount that we're producing?
I'll tell you what, as interesting as the crude oil story is, and you mentioned Venezuela, Venezuela's production has been falling for a while, and we've got some real sanctions on Venezuela as opposed to sort of the fake sanctions we've got on Iran.
Right.
But that hasn't really been a needle mover in terms of supply. But, you talk about natty gas, talk about a commodity that's wrought with a lot of political intrigue. Right now, the battle is for who will supply natural gas to Europe. And just geographically, Russia's just in a better spot to do it. They've got a very tight relationship with Germany. Germany's a huge natural gas user, consumer. Right now, I think the natural gas relationship between the U.S. and Mexico is the one we need to focus on. That's why natural gas went berserk. That's one of the reasons natural gas went berserk towards the end of last year when the NAFTA got replaced with UMSCA and the relationship between the U.S. and Mexico seemed to be back on the right path. So I think for U.S., Mexico is going to be number one for now. Nice.
Now, at one point here, we talked about as far as production and piping it, and then also certainly the refineries. Are we going to see any type of improvement in this infrastructure, or are we just going to use these resources that we have to capacity, stay with that and live with that, because it is a cyclical pattern that we've seen in the oil industry?
I think that's true, and you're right. When you look at the history of the cyclical nature of the refineries, the shutdowns, and maintenance schedule, but this was all before the U.S. became just really a juggernaut within oil production. So I think it's going to change. I think the infrastructure investment's begun, and that's what I'm a big fan of for now, recommending traders look at long crude oil, long USO, long stocks and ETFs like the XLE, but avoiding the oil services, avoiding OIH, because the one thing we continue to see in the rig count, and this tells us a lot about optimism towards the latter part of 2019, we're not seeing the kind of CapEx spending that we would think if there was that much optimism about the U.S. economy. And we're seeing rig counts drop to, I believe, yearly lows at this point. So again, there's a mixed signal. Well, for now, we're quite bullish, but longer term, there's a big question mark.
Yeah, that's interesting. So with the red tape being cut and the regulations being removed and our access to the oil that's out there to pull out of the ground, so oil almost seems like it's here to stay for a while. Would you agree with that?
I think it's the new reality. Absolutely.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, let's move on to the U.S. and China. So China's, we're doing some trade negotiations with China, and certainly that may move the needle on oil. But even more so, I don't know, because China's economy continues to slow. Their demand for oil is reducing. Is that going to have any effect on oil consumption in the world as far as China's and the U.S. is concerned?
So China is trying to reinvigorate some of their own older and really not productive oil fields. Their CapEx spending has actually increased over the last handful of weeks, but I think you've hit the nail on the head, and that is a slowdown that is in China. Now, China's rebounded because as the U.S. rebounded and we saw liquidity injected back into the system, or at least the expectation that it will be from the U.S., that's a high tide that lifts all boats, including China. Mm-hmm. You take a look at the U.S. liquidity globally, that's the job of a reserve currency nation. Our current account deficit has to run roughly parallel to the globes, if you think of it that way.
Sure.
So liquidity is always good. But if you talk about liquidity, we're looking at China right now injecting some 5% of their GDP back into the banking system. There's some big problems over there, and that slowdown is probably here to stay. But they're not going to have a Western-style recession because they're self-funded.
What a stark difference from like a decade ago. I remember China was just scouring the globe for oil because their economy was just red hot, and they had literally agents of the government out there scouring the globe looking for any type of oil that they can get their hands on. What a stark difference from then. Would you agree?
I would. I believe, though, they've spent the better part of, as you mentioned, the last 7 to 10 years stockpiling oil. I mean, they're thinking long term.
Yeah.
They've got a long game in mind. They know they're running into some problems now.
Yeah.
But again, they don't have to worry about elections. The guy's, in president for life. So it's a different narrative over there.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about how do you think we're going to finish out the year as far as oil's concerned? I know there's some projections of second, third quarter certainly, and we're coming into peak driving season too, and that's cyclical. But let's get past that. Let's get into maybe the third, fourth quarter, end of third quarter, fourth quarter. What are your thoughts?
Sure. So just as you mentioned, that seasonal driving rally that we'll see not just in oil but RBOB gas starts in mid-February, ends about late May, early June. So that's well underway, and I think that's going to be a big reason for the continual move higher.
Yeah.
OPEC, obviously. But what happens after, say, September? And that's where I think we have to look to the equities markets and Jay Powell and the Federal Reserve.
Okay.
And this is where I think they fired too many weapons into the market way too soon. And I'm actually quite bearish on the market later this year, unless Jay Powell can pull a rabbit out of his hat.
We're out of time. Where can we find you?
Over at simplertrading.com.
Head on over there today. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You are tuned into Traders Nation. Hey, Don, real quickly, I want to let everyone know where they can find you, certainly. Social media.
On all the social media. I got Instagram. I got Twitter. I got Facebook. Yeah, Don McKelvey at whatever.
You got it. You can find me at all those places, too. Get involved, folks. Like, share, comment. Okay? Get involved. That's all we ask. Don, I want to come back to the tower, CCI, certainly Crown Castle International. Your thoughts there?
Well, it's important to note that Crown Castle is getting into this fiber business.
Yeah.
They're expanding. Now, that's going to actually expand and make it more favorable for the rollout of the 5G, which is going to generate tremendous revenues in the not too distant future. We're going to see that start picking up. And then, of course, they've been around for a long time, and earnings came out recently, and they had a blowout quarter.
Yeah.
So this is going to be very important. It's going to give them a very robust entry into the 5G business, because not only will they have the fiber, but they're going to be deploying these small cells, which is going to be important for 5G. So keep an eye on that one. Just look, we talked about in a pair, Stone. Well, keep an eye on CCI.
Yeah, totally. Crown Castle International, $126.37 here today. Okay? That's what it says right there, all right?
Well, they're REITs and they pay a dividend.
Yeah, dividend play also. All right, Don, do you own anything we talked about today?
No.
Yeah, I don't either. These are not buy or sell recommendations whatsoever, so you need to know that. And always, we do appreciate you tuning in to Traders Nation. We'll see you on the next edition. Have a great day.